It's 2026, y'all. Anyway, I've been reading Brené Brown lately, and it's great. It's a lot about the sort of happiness comes from within kind of stuff. And it's good, it's true, it's helpful. But something I've noticed, and this is true with a lot of self-help and self-improvement books. They will talk about how money isn't important. And I agree. However, one of my favorite quotes from The Boys is when Stardust is telling A-Train, money isn't everything. And A-Train says, yeah, sounds like someone who's always had money. And some of the self-improvement books, you can tell that they're assuming that you already have your bag up and you're looking to improve from there. Other ones simply say that having money isn't important, having things isn't important. And like I said, I agree. However, if you've been in the mud, you don't want to go back. If you're trying to get out of the mud, you will work extra shifts and put in overtime and do what it takes to, not go back to that place. And I think that a lot of these more well-read authors came from money. And that's a pretty easy assumption. If you've had the time and the influence and the publishers to write a great selling, well-received book, you probably came from money. So that's my first, I guess, disagreement, is that money is important. And I am trying to get money, and I don't want to go back to being poor. So I am going to forego naps and work extra shifts so that I cannot be poor ever again. The second thing is that in her books and other books written by female self-improvement authors, they never talk about how to get a guy. Whereas in men's self-improvement books, 90% of it is how to attract a woman, how to pick up a woman, what to say to women, how to dress for women. It's all about, it seems like the only reason that men want to improve themselves is for women. And, I'm not going to lie, that's probably mostly true. We've all seen the meme where I think it's like a folding chair and a Xbox and a TV and a sleeping bag on the floor in a studio apartment saying men can be happy living like this. And it's true. We can be content living like that. However, ain't no woman gonna want to live like that. Unless you are one of the 1% of guys that women actually find physically attractive. In that case, lucky you. But it ain't most of us. So, well, I agree that we can be content driving crappy old cars, working the minimum amount of hours to get by, living very simplistically. I 100% agree that that's fine. Enough is enough. But once again, there's that big old but that no woman wants to be a part of that life. Once again, unless you are one of the 1% of guys that women think are super hot. So, there's that. Also, I believe that the reason that women's self-help books don't talk about how to get a guy is that it's so easy for women to get laid. Let's be real. All most women would have to do is text the last guy that hit on them and say, actually, come on over. And that dude would be burning rubber on the way to her house. That easy. Not hard at all. Pause. However, for a man to woo said lady would take an extreme amount of work. You have to build a lifestyle, you have to build, well, I guess lifestyle is the main thing. Status, fame, wealth. I already said lifestyle. And then you have a chance. And so it's not something that, like, say, most women would really have to work to do, is get a guy. It comes very easily for most. There's the other thing, is that, well, I agree that men can be content, so to speak, living in a shack in the woods with a dog. Very simplistically, the fact of not having a female partner is a much bigger hole in your life than it would be for a woman who doesn't have a man, simply because of the disparity of our sex drives. So, consider you're a lady, and, ladies get horny too. Now, take that feeling and multiply it times 9, because our sex drive is 9 times, on average, that of women. And that's how we feel all the time. So, not having that need, that biological drive, almost on the level of fucking hunger, it's a huge drive for us. Not having it satisfied leaves a very big hole in our lives. Whereas for women, it's really not that big of a deal. They don't need to get laid as badly as we do in order to achieve contentment and happiness. So that's kind of my take on the money isn't everything. Take a nap rather than work an extra shift. Do what you like, not necessarily what makes money. I would agree that is all true if I could forego the possibility of ever getting laid again. And in my life right now, I am not focusing on finding a partner. It's just not what I'm focusing on. So I can, and I do, live very minimalistically and very simplistically, and will continue to do so for the foreseeable future. However, I understand that by having this very simple lifestyle, I am not going to attract a woman to be a part of it. It's understood. It comes, I know it, and it is what it is. And I don't think that most men would be cool with that. Like I said, that sex drive for us is just such a driving force that it can't be ignored forever. And you can't be truly happy and content unless it's being satisfied. So that's kind of my take on the Brené Brown books that I've been reading and other self-improvement books is that negating the importance of money, first of all, sounds like somebody already has money and always has, most likely. Second of all, it's completely disregarding the strength and the importance of the male sex drive. So, I don't know. That's kind of my thoughts on it. Good stuff, though. Inner peace, it's if you want to learn inner peace and how to be happy with yourself and all that kind of stuff, Brené Brown is great, and I'm going to keep reading her.